reframing and rethinking the way we think about mental well-being in the state of Florida, particularly in our schools. And we know it's been a difficult year for many, many people throughout the state. We've obviously been focused on this before the coronavirus pandemic, but realized that the coronavirus pandemic has exacerbated some of the underlying issues. We have increased mental health assistance allocation by $25 million for a total of $100 million to put more counselors and mental health professionals in our schools and to ensure more students have direct access to the care that they need. And then all Florida school districts successfully completed the first year that required 5 hours of mental health instruction in grades 6 through 12, which we think is a good step forward. We've also created Hope Ambassadors, a youth peer-to-peer student volunteerism and mentoring program, and that's really just the beginning. So this is important. It's not always the easiest issue, but it's something that's really, really significant. It's something that we've got to tackle. So I'm going to introduce the First Lady, and then she'll introduce. We have Coach Lou Holtz, who needs no introduction. We got Richard Corcoran. We have Corey Simon, who's running Volunteer Florida, and then we have Alex Martins. With my wife, I've learned that when I first started, the first time I ever ran for Congress, we had an event with some of my supporters, and they asked her to introduce me. And so she did, and the problem was she gave a much better speech than I'm capable of giving. And so I learned there, try not to speak after Casey, try to maybe speak before Casey, and so she'll be able to do that. But that's also true with this guy right over there, Coach Holtz. You never want to follow Lou Holtz if you're giving any type of public talk, unless you're Corey Simon, but I don't know. So my view was like, yes, we want Coach here, but I am going to speak before Coach Holtz speaks. And so I think it's going to be an exciting announcement. So our great First Lady, come up here and kick us off.
Thank you. It's true, Coach Holtz is amazing, and we appreciate everybody for being here today. I am just excited to be here, and I'm also excited to speak to people over the age of 4. I'm not going to lie, our kids woke up this morning at 4:30. I can't remember the last time that all 3 kids, so we have a 10-month-old, we have a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and at 4:30 they were all up and they were all busy, so there's that. But I do appreciate all of you taking the time to be here, because I really hope that this is going to be a new start for the direction of Florida and for Florida's future, and namely our kids. Many of you know that mental and emotional well-being of our youth has been a priority of mine since really the beginning of the governor's term. It started with a bipartisan mental health listening session that we did at the governor's mansion back in 2019. It really led me down the path of championing this cause. I realized very quickly that the mental health arena touches so many sectors of society, from our great law enforcement to our veterans to our family and, of course, our children. Seeing the data and knowing that mental and emotional well-being of our children was an issue pre-pandemic, unfortunately now we see that it is even more pressing. I can tell you that as a mother of 3 young children, 2 of the greatest things to help the emotional health and the well-being of Floridans all across this great state is having open schools and an open economy. But today we are here to do more. Through traveling the state and meeting with students, faculty, parents, coaches, I heard a lot of reoccurring themes. And to supplement those efforts, I sent out Dr. Eric Hall, who's here, who is the Senior Chancellor at the Department of Education. He led a group called Hope Innovators. And they went around the state and did the same thing that I had done. He met with teachers and faculty and parents and tried to get a lot of intel on what they were seeing as it pertains to mental health. And they, again, doubled down on the things that I had witnessed. And one of the biggest barriers, hands down, that we both saw was the stigma. I had children tell me that if they admitted that they had a mental health issue, that would be an acknowledgement that there was something inherently and innately wrong with them. They told me, quote, that they would be considered damaged goods, unquote, and nothing could, quote, fix the problem. In essence, for them, what they told me, it was demoralizing. So today, given the lessons that we've learned traveling across the state, we are changing the narrative on mental health and reframing it to resiliency and hope. We want to empower our youth with the tools and the skill sets to be resilient by learning how to persevere through life's challenges. We know that no one is immune from adversity and hardship. And it's not whether you're going to have challenges in life, it's how you're going to persevere, how you're going to have hope to get through the tough times. And that's why today we are announcing resiliency curriculum to the schools across the state. And this curriculum will focus on key fundamentals of teaching kids how to be resilient. For example, problem-solving skills, critical thinking skills, the value of mentorship, empathy, respect, and responsibility. And what's more, I've asked the Department of Education to put an emphasis on volunteerism within that curriculum, because I feel getting up, getting outside, and serving others does so much to put really good context and perspective on life. Doing good for others obviously helps those in need, but providing that help does tremendous good for our own emotional well-being. Additionally, I've asked the Department of Education to incentivize physical activity, as I feel exercise, as it relates to our emotional well-being, cannot be understated. Getting outdoors, running around, getting fresh air in the sun does so much good for our overall well-being. So why are we here? So why are we in the Amway Center, home of the Magic, surrounded by some pretty tremendous folks? Well, because it's one thing for me to say all of this. It's another thing for the governor of the great state of Florida to say this. It's another thing for the commissioner of education to say this. But it is something quite different if professional athletes who are respected and looked up to by millions of kids across this state lend their voice and their story of being resilient and persevering through tough times. We believe that they can empower and inspire kids throughout the state, and more importantly, give them hope. And to that end, we are excited to make an unprecedented announcement again, and that we are partnering with major sports teams and organizations all across the state of Florida. The great Orlando Magic, they're just one, but we're also really proud to be partnering with the Orlando City Soccer Club, the Orlando Pride, the Miami Dolphins, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Miami Marlins, the Tampa Bay Rays, Inter Miami CF, the LPGA Tour, the Miami Heat, NASCAR, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Florida Panthers. We believe that this is an extremely powerful message that these organizations are uniting in an unprecedented fashion for this singular mission of supporting Florida's children by empowering them to be resilient, to persevere, and to have hope. In addition to sports legends, athletes, and coaches, they're all rallying around this as well, because they understand that what it takes to persevere, the athletes and the coaches too embody the essence of a never quit, have hope attitude. Through their generosity and graciousness and all of the support of these prominent organizations, the athletes are going to be on the front lines communicating this message of resiliency and hope directly to Florida's children. And I want to give you a quick preview of what that's going to look like.
In the NBA,
in the NHL,
in NASCAR,
in Major League Baseball,
in the MLS.
You have to be resilient.
okay, you have to be resilient.
Both on and off the court.
On and off the ice.
On and off the field.
On and off the pitch.
on and off the track.
No matter who you are or where you're from, you're going to have challenges and obstacles.
I'm telling you, it can get tough at times.
Resiliency is having the tools to persevere through hard times.
Through hard times.
Having the tools to persevere through hard times.
You're going to have losses. You're going to throw interceptions. You're going to fumble the ball.
Being resilient is having the ability to bounce back from a failure.
Not better through losing streaks, not better through injuries.
Doesn't matter what people say, what happens to you. You always have your goals on your mind and you just persevere through it.
Resiliency means you're not taking no for an answer. You're going to find a way to win.
It means never give up.
The discipline to keep going, to see it through, that's perseverance.
You keep going because you believe in your dream, because you believe in yourself, and you believe in the bigger cause that you can really accomplish great things.
I had to push for the work. I had to grind. I had to believe.
I've had to use a lot of those skills to push through some of the obstacles I've had to go through throughout my career.
But with the right skills and attitude,
I've learned to overcome obstacles.
I've learned to overcome obstacles.
And so can you.
So I want to say each one of those athletes are lending their voice specifically to this initiative, and I'll tell you what, they did it in a matter of 1 week. We called all of these folks in a matter of 2 weeks and said, hey, listen, this is important for the kids of this state. Are you going to rally behind? Do you want to help us with this initiative to empower our youth to be resilient, to persevere, to have hope? and all these great guys and gals, all of these great institutions and teams across the state said absolutely. So this is really a beginning point for something that I think is going to be tremendous for this state, and more importantly for the overall well-being of our children and our families. And with that, I want to introduce someone who really needs no introduction whatsoever, but humbled and honored to have Coach Lou Holtz here, because he obviously embodies really what it means to be a hero to a lot of folks, but to really persevere and to be a champion. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. First of all, I wish to thank the Governor and the First Lady for their wonderful leadership in providing this very difficult time. I'm also flattered and honored to ask to be part of this very important program. I've often said we can solve anything if enough people care. Having dealt with young people most of my entire career, I understand that everybody needs help. I'm an old man. My birthday candles used to cost more than the cake. But that's no longer true, because it takes 2 cakes to get all my birthday candles on it. But the one thing I've learned during all my years on this earth, you're always going to have problems, you're always going to have difficulties, you're always going to have challenges. There's always going to be difficulties you're going to face. Life is not having problems or difficulties or downshift. Life is about how you cope with them, how you react to them. June 22nd, 2015, right here, the great city of Orlando. I was awakened by the fire alarm to tell me our house was on fire. I awakened my wife at 2:30 in the morning. I'm not sure she would have awakened me, but we don't know that. But we got out with only our bathrobe. There we were, 8 o'clock in the morning, nothing but smoke and ashes. Everything gone, everything burned. My wife was crying hysterically. And I said to her, you have 24 hours to cry, to feel sorry for yourself, to wallow in self-pity. Come 8 o'clock Monday morning, we're going to move on. The good Lord put eyes in front of our head rather than back, so you see where we're going rather than where we've been. And that's the one thing I always try to teach our athletes. You're going to get knocked down. Everybody does. One of the problems with our society is everybody got a trophy. They don't know how to handle adversity, the difficulty you're going to have in your entire life. So I've been blessed in so many different ways. I think Martin Luther, I think it was Mark Twain that said it best. He said the 2 most important days of your life, one's the day you're born, and other's the day you discover why you're born. We discover we're basically born to help other people, particularly in this COVID crisis. Now, more than ever, we need to teach people to respond favorably. And I used to tell our football teams, I get ready to close, gentlemen, we're going to have 3 crises on our football team this year. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure what, but we're going to have at least 3. And how well we handle those crises will determine our success. And whenever we'd have a crisis, major injury or something, I go, I got great news for you. We only have 2 more crises to go. See, life is nothing more than a matter of choices. When you have difficulty, how are you going to react to it? Somebody said to me today about how I'm feeling. I lost my wife on June 30th here in Orlando. On October 18th, I hurt my back, and that's the last time I played golf. To lose your wife and golf in the same year is very, very difficult, but that's all part of life. You have to get up every day, and you have to say that's all part of it. Having problems, having difficulty, how do I react to it? Remember the word win, what's important now? You have adversity, what's important now? You have great success, what's important now? And evaluate the past, focus on this future, tell you what you have to do in the present. But it's so critical that we go involved with our young people. Nothing in this world is more important, and I say this to Mr. and Mrs. DeSantis. I'm available to help any way I possibly can. I have no idea how that would be, but I do know it's such a great cause, and I thank you both for providing the leadership. And Corey Simon, last time you made a bad decision when you chose not to come to Notre Dame. And further, thank you for having me.
And so just for the record, when Corey was being recruited for football, obviously he ended up going to Florida State. Coach Holtz was there's a window when you can call Coach Holtz 6:30 in the morning, first one out of the gate calling Corey, and Corey did a recruiting trip there. And I'm with Corey. When you're from South Florida like he is, I'm from the Tampa Bay area. You're warm-blooded, and I think that it was a little bit cold up there for her, but it was a great program and a great coach. So Corey went to Florida State. He's had a great career, and he is now the head of Volunteer Florida for the state of Florida. He's really dove in and really working hard, and with his connections in the sports world, I mean, people want to help because Corey's involved, and so we appreciate it. So come on up.
Thank you, the Governor and the First Lady. You guys have done a terrific job of not only giving us our freedoms here in the state of Florida, but also getting behind very worthy causes like this one. It's so fitting to be up here with Coach because I look back on the relationships that I've had, and none have been more importantly than the player-coach relationship. In many respects, that has been my fathering. That has taught me all of the things that I know about being a dad to this day. I have an 18-year-old son, and those are things I got from Coach Bowden and Coach Holtz. One of my best friends played for him at Notre Dame, and so all of those life lessons, all of those things that we learn as players are the things that continue to keep us going to this day. Coach Bowden used to have this sign over the top of his tower that oversat all of our fields, and it said perseverance. It was the pushing through, it was the fight. It's easy to walk out of practice and be fresh and have a great day when it's 70 degrees and sunny and the wind's blowing. It's those days when it's 95 degrees and 99% humidity. Those are the days where you have to suck it up and finish. Those are the same things that I carry to this day into my job at Volunteer Florida. A coach once told me, he says, Corey, you can be one of two things. You can be a thermostat or a thermometer. You can set the tone and the temperature of the rooms that you walk in, or you can succumb to the pressures that environment brings. And so I look at that, and I look at where our kids are today, and I said, no, we've got to have more thermostats out there. We've got to present avenues and organizations that are willing to step forward and hold our kids accountable and help them through these tough times. And I'm so excited for Volunteer Florida to be able to partner in this cause. I look back at a couple weeks ago, I lost one of my brothers, my NFL brothers, in Vincent Jackson, and he took his own life. And then I look back at Junior Seau, and he took his own life. The pressures that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, we can dress it up, we can put on the outfit, we can put on the uniform and the helmet, and we can look like gladiators, but inside we are hurting. Those guys that are leaving these leagues are hurting. And so we have to find ways to continue to push forward and say, you know what, they're not gladiators, they're men, they're human, they hurt, they have issues. And we've got to, and it's hard for us at times to really open up our mouths and say, you know what, things are just not going well. I'm suffering. That transition from being a professional athlete where everybody knows your name to just being one of many is a very tough transition for a lot of us. And so I'm happy to be here. Thank you, First Lady DeSantis. Thank you, Governor, for this opportunity. It's going to help more people than we know, because I think all of us need a voice and we need someone to talk to. And at Volunteer Florida, we're just an organization trying to find those avenues and those opportunities for our young people and our people in our communities to have that conversation.
Great. Well, we have the Magic have been great. They're wonderful in the community, and so Alex, bring you up here to say a few things, but we want to thank the organization for immediately stepping up. There was not even a hesitation about them wanting to help out with this, and as they do with so many other things. And so I think the last time my wife and I were at Amway was the playoff game against I guess that was 2019, right, against the Raptors, and obviously that was a pretty good team that they had to go against. And so we're glad that you guys at least have some fans, and hopefully be able to have more very soon if the NBA allows. Come on.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis, and thank you, First Lady DeSantis, for asking the Orlando Magic to participate in providing this important tool to support students throughout the state of Florida and their well-being and their long-term success. You know, our mission statement at the Orlando Magic is to be world champions on and off the court, delivering legendary moments every step of the way. Part of delivering those legendary moments and part of being world champions off of the court is our commitment to our community. And at the heart of our commitment to our community is our focus on supporting at-risk youth here in Central Florida. We're proud to be a part of this critical initiative with the Governor and the First Lady, and to use our platform to help reframe the way that we talk about mental well-being and combine it with a focus on resiliency for our state students. Our players, our coaches, our staff, similar to students, exhibit the need for resiliency every day, both on and off the court. Thank you to the Governor and First Lady for allowing us to be a part of this program. While we face different challenges, I'm confident as a sport and as an industry that we can encourage students to learn strategies for overcoming obstacles of any size and to help each and every student grow and succeed. We're excited to be a part of this program and this initiative, and we look forward to working together to see its success. Thank you very much.
And then last but not least, our Commissioner of Education, Richard Corcoran, who's been very busy in the last year and has done really an admirable job. You look, people are still trying to get their kids in school in many big parts of this country. And we had to face, I mean, it was obviously controversial. It shouldn't have been, because I think the way the science is, but it was. And Richard really helped lead the way on that. And if you polled parents, I doubt very many of them would wish that they didn't have the ability to send their kid to school in person at this point.
And truthfully, he's very complimentary, but that's having it. Leadership is everything, and we are blessed in Florida to have a great leader who looked at the data and looked at the science and read, talked to the stakeholders. That's why our schools are open, and that's why kids are participating in sports and getting face-to-face instruction. So honestly, Governor, I can't thank you enough for your great leadership. I also want to note that he definitely has a great sense of humor. When he got up here and he told you that he speaks first because he doesn't have to follow his First Lady, Casey DeSantis, and then they talked about not wanting to follow Lou Holtz or Corey Simon, and then guess who has to follow Lou Holtz, First Lady, and Corey Simon? Not exactly fair. But I just want to compliment the First Lady. This is something she's been working on since the day they took office, and the Governor mentioned it. Already great successes, up to $100 million in mental health funding. We're already seeing the 5 hours of required mental health instruction done by all of the districts. The Hope Ambassadors is up and running with the tour that the First Lady and the innovators for Senior Chancellor Hall have gone through the state. And now, with this initiative, it's another opportunity at the First Lady's insistence that we go back and look. We have required instruction for everything under the sun: English, math, science. We also have in there character education. The only one of our required instructions that does not have standards is the character education. And Coach Holtz mentioned it, but Martin Luther King says it all the time. Education, at its best, at its finest, when it's done right, it's getting that world-class education that we've been working on with rewriting the standards, eliminating Common Core, getting teachers more money. All of that is to create world-class education and give that education and that intelligence to students. But Martin Luther King also said intelligence, the education, and character, that is the true goal of education. And we've lost some of that character education. And to what Corey Simon was talking about with some of his colleagues that he played with, is when you miss on the character education and you don't start those early grades, like the First Lady's asking us to go through and write these standards on character education, what happens is what Frederick Douglass says: it's really easy, if you do it right and you build around intelligence and character, to raise up great children. And it's a lot easier to do that than fix broken men. And that's what we're seeing. And so if we can go back in, redo the standards, and now we already have all of the virtues, the Resiliency Florida virtues, are in CPALMs. That's our online library, accessible by teachers and parents. And they can go in there and they can have a whole lecture and an entire curriculum around all of those things the First Lady talked about: responsibility, empathy. You know, when you emphasize volunteerism, again, Coach mentioned it about Martin Luther King. He said, if you don't get up every morning and you're not trying to figure out how you can help others, you're missing out on life. And it's the same thing. When we get these kids and they're volunteering and they're going out there and they're selflessly helping others, it builds a great society of empathetic people, people who are responsible, people who can celebrate adversity and have that resiliency to conquer the world. And when you do that, you don't just end up with great educated students, you end up with great citizens, great spouses, great participants in society. And that's what's going to carry us for the next 200 years. So all of this and building it and putting it together is literally going to be something that will be game changers, not for our students, but for our communities. And so I just want to thank you, First Lady, for all your great work.
I'll just say that, again, I want to thank all of the institutions, the sports teams, all of the athletes that lent their voice to this. I think what is hopefully going to be, no pun intended, a game changer. And everything we talked about is up now, available on CPOMs, and this is just really the start of it. And from here, we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to be going out regionally. We're going to be talking directly to a lot of these teams about what can we do to inspire our kids to have hope, be resilient, and persevere. The Hope Ambassadors that he mentioned a second ago that's been talked about, that's a club that we started. And basically, these kids, it's not mental health or emotional wellness in any way aligned. What it is are kids who live by the golden rule. So if they see a child sitting by themselves in the lunchroom, they would be the first person to get up and go over and sit next to them. Or if there's a new student in the school, a Hope Ambassador would be the first person to show them around. So while all of this seems very simple, respect, empathy, critical thinking, problem solving, resiliency, volunteering, exercise, living by the golden rule, while that seems simple, it is a big difference in the grand scheme of things. And so I'm honored to have great people here, the governor, obviously Coach Holtz, Alex Martins, Corey Simon, Commissioner, everyone, to be rallying behind this. And so I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here for it.
Great. Thank you. That's great news, probably early in the week on Johnson & Johnson.
I can do a question. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sometimes I'm hard-headed and sick.
No worries.
How would this work? Is this like a class? You know, I'm confused
Sure.
about how it all works.
So right now, so in 2019, we passed the 5 hours of mental health training within the schools. So what we're going to be doing now, available on CPOMs and building it out, is curriculum that goes back to the things that I just talked about. So lesson plans for things like problem solving, critical thinking skills. So this supplements, and what's great is it's free to all of the districts so they can utilize it and put it in the classrooms. What we think is phenomenal about this and what the Department of Education is working on is putting curriculums out there, and we're still working on some, putting them out there that incentivizes volunteerism, because we believe that putting context and perspective on life, getting kids getting up outside, getting out and helping our neighbors, helping our elderly, it is a big deal for their emotional well-being. And then also the physical exercise, which I said cannot be understated. I think that is essential. We see our kids in front of computer screens. We see our kids in front of social media. I'm a personal believer that social media is a net negative in society. I believe it does some good, but I think that there's a lot of bad that comes as a result of it, and our kids are seeing a lot of negativity. So if they can take a step back, get outside, get some fresh air, get some sunlight, run around, that does so much for their emotional well-being. And I think that this pandemic has exposed something that we know is very true, that our well-being is really contingent upon our interactions with our fellow man. And so by doing volunteerism, getting out and running around, it's a big deal. So does that help answer your question?
It does, but how do kids get access to this? I mean,
through their teachers, so they're in schools, and the teachers will be the ones who are getting the curriculum that they'll be able to get from CPOMs free of charge, utilize that, and then they will be teaching it to the kids. And all of those things that I talked about are going to be incorporated in the curriculum. Now, that's not to say, like the Hope Ambassadors, what we're doing with those clubs, we're going around the state, we're incentivizing these clubs. Heck, we want to have them come up to the mansion because kids are out there doing great things. We want to support them 100%. So when you talk about the volunteerism, Corey Simon and I are making it a mission to incorporate new ways to be able to use volunteerism within the schools. Bright Future Scholarships obviously needs to have volunteerism. So whatever we can do to incentivize this. So a lot of it, we have some things that are up and running now, but a lot of it is going to be follow-ups with the team. You know, in talking with the Marlins, they make it their mission to be able to go around to deliver meals to the underserved communities around them. Well, I said, great, let's have our Hope Ambassadors. Let's work with the school districts. Let's work together. That's a big deal. So there's some things that are cemented now. curriculum is still starting to build. I would say that that's true. We're going to be more on CPOMs, and then we're going to be brainstorming how we can make this even bigger and better going forward.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
If you could explain a little bit about how you're going to connect some of the athletes' voices with the students. Will it be
It's a great question.
through videos like this?
Yep. It's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question, because another thing that I heard, and I think Dr. Hall would say too, and just going around and listening to students, when they're scanning social media and they're looking at Snapchat or they're looking at Facebook, I don't know how many kids look at Facebook, I look at Facebook. When you're looking at that, you see so much negativity. The kids told me, wouldn't it be great to have a counterweight, a counterbalance to that, to have some hope and optimism. So when they're on social and they're seeing all these things that are making them feel down, boy, you see these guys and gals talking about persevering, talking about having hope. I had a tough time. You can get through it too. Just, it's going to be okay. That is going to be a big deal. So the private sector is big with this too. We're going to be micro-targeting kids, hopefully to their Snapchats, wherever they are, to provide these messages from people like Peyton Manning and Joey Logano and all the guys you just saw a second ago, and gals. So I think that's going to be something special. You know, relatability and being able to hear someone's story, to be able to see that these athletes, like Corey Simon said, they put on their helmet, they're Teflon, but at the same time they're human, and they go through problems, and they persevere. And if kids can see that and be like, man, if they can admit that they've gone through some tough times, maybe that'll give me a little bit of hope that this too shall pass, and it'll be okay. I just have to persevere. So I think it's a big deal. It's a good question, because we got to get in front of their eyeballs.
Good morning. Just a quick question. A lot of stresses do start at home, and I do need to ask the governor to that point, if you can speak to those like Mindy Weiss, who are now 4 months waiting for unemployment benefits, because those issues are.
I see what you're trying to do. If you guys have something on topic, we're happy to do it.
Can I say for the stress component, I would say this. Opening the schools and opening the economy is one of the greatest things you can do to the emotional well-being of everybody of this state. And so, therefore, I am so proud of everything that the governor has done from the very beginning to look at the data and the evidence and make the best decision possible for our children and our families. And as far as it pertains to our children, I'm going to be doing everything that I can do to give them hope, so they can persevere through life's challenges. And I am so thrilled that we have so many great institutions across the state. I mean, when we look at the list from NASCAR to the LPGA to the Magic to the Bucks, the World Series, the World Champions, the Bucks, it's a big deal. So we're excited to be able to do this, and so we're moving forward.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I want to talk to Coach and Corey.
Well, Coach Montori's going to come with us, but if the coach, I think the coach will be able to do it. Will you be taking unemployment waivers, Governor? Is 4 months too long to wait for unemployment benefits, Governor?